Hello and welcome to Tuesday Talking Points. Yesterday, I had the distinct pleasure of attending a luncheon in Chicago hosted by the Illinois Policy Institute, featuring a former U.S. Senator and current Kansas Governor named Sam Brownback. Knowing how much I enjoyed talking with his executive assistant and getting a tour of the governor's office during my 50 Capitals trip last fall, I just had to meet him in person. And I can still remember his ceremonial desk, upon which I jokingly took a rest right in the middle of my long trip. The theme of his presentation was to showcase how well Kansas has done economically and to show us in the land of Lincoln how we can do it too. Now, just about every one of the 30 states with Republican governors and leadership have figured out that the cure for many economic woes is with job creation. Now, Illinois is bordered by flourishing states like Indiana, Wisconsin, Iowa, and even Michigan, had the 6th highest job growth rate in the country. And of course, Texas is very well known for it, and Tennessee isn't far behind. But now with the national economy still virtually flat in new job creation in the private sector, it means that all of the red states are booming at the expense of mostly blue states. Now, this is not about politics. It's about preservation. Businesses and residents often find they have two choices. Businesses sometimes have to fold or flee, and a lot of residents decide to flee as well. Like Governor Brownback said, people vote with their feet. Now let's take a look at Kansas. Now, it's a rebounding state with only a 5.5% unemployment rate. Now, first of all, they have a plan. What a concept. Now, Governor Brownback was well armed with copies of his roadmap for the Kansas brochure, which states that the focus of the Brownback administration will be to grow the Kansas economy, excel in education, and protect Kansas families, implemented through their detailed roadmap for Kansas. And this, of course, explained it all. He had plenty of them. He was also flanked with his Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Agriculture, and the President of the Chamber of Commerce for Kansas. Now, the goals for the Kansas roadmap, as they appeared in the brochure, are quite detailed, and they're listed in there and they're listed on the screen there right now. But really, what I wanted to talk about is some of the highlights that I heard yesterday and the governor's suggestions on just how we can help turn things around in Illinois. First thing he said was you have to start with a goal. Kansas's ultimate goal is to be the #1 state to raise a family and start a business. And he also said the way to change the country is by changing the states, not by trying to change Washington. That made sense. I remember one comment too about called their secret sauce for the quick turnaround has been implementing a zero income tax for small businesses and LLCs, which will effectively eliminate Kansas state income taxes for more than 191,000 small business owners. Why? To create jobs. What they found was that 77% of the residents work for small businesses, those with between 1 to 10 employees. Now, the other thing he said is that the states shouldn't try to be the federal government. He said we have to follow Ronald Reagan's lead and get the entitlement programs under control, something that the Republicans forced on Bill Clinton, of course, years later. Now, one example they did also was to change Medicaid to what they call CanCare, which I'm sure you can find on the website about how they did that. But the ultimate goal was to get the people off the government handouts and back to work. The fifth suggestion he said was to address the question, when I'm not working, what am I going to do? So they want to do a lot of things in the state to make it more recreational, more fun after work, and of course on weekends. He also said that you have to be very tactical and measure results. What a concept. He said, what gets measured tends to get done. Now, I love that quote because that's been one of our quotes for 15 years. He said you need to implement measurables to hold the government accountable, and that they do. Each year of the Brownback administration, they post a Kansas report card, which discusses the progress being made. And he also said, quite subtly, he said, Kansas is a committed family values state. And I'm sure that probably has something to do with why people are moving there in record numbers too. Oh, and when I asked him what can Illinois residents possibly do when our Democratic leadership has total control of the governor's office as well as both the houses and legislature, He said, support organizations like the Illinois Policy Institute because they can impact policy. Now that sounds like sage advice from the leader of a very successful state and someone who is in the know. I'm very thankful for the Illinois Policy Institute to bring him to town. And there's always 2014. Illinois, I don't think, will ever change to the degree we need with the Democratic leadership. And as Scott Walker of Wisconsin once said, he's not worried about the next election. He's worried about the next generation. And like Governor Brownback said, we can stay on this track, but it's just not healthy.